Tonight's guest, David Velasco. Also, it's the Mother's Day special edition of the show. We have Sotera and Angela joining us for our Mother's panel. What up, everybody? It's your boy, Tony the Beat. I'm your host. This is Spread Hope Like Fire. Come on in and join me. This is a life podcast where I try to destigmatize mental health. I do deep dives with others as we look at their challenges, their traumas, and ultimately their triumphs and successes. So come on in, buckle up. I've got a jam-packed show tonight. I've got my friend David Velasco, where he does a deep dive into what it was like growing up in poverty, what the struggles he faced, and how ultimately he changed his life and also the life of his children. If you're new to this show, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. We still have time. We've got plenty of time in the show. Hit the share button. Let other people know you're watching. Let's get more people in. The ways that you can support the show are hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Also, leave a comment in the comment section. Other ways you can support the show: tell your friends about us, MySpace it, tweet it out, Facebook share it, tell everybody on your Friendsters list, send out a BlackBerry message, or you can join us every week as we do this weekly. My guest tonight is David Velasco. I'm very humbled and honored that he came on the show and shared his story with us. And I hope that it inspires the listeners at home. And I hope that somebody can learn something from this guy, because he's a top-notch guy in my book. He shares the struggles that he and his mother endured. But above all, he shares what his mother instilled in him, values that would set apart David from the rest of the generations that came before him. If you take one thing from David's story tonight, I hope that you take that anything is possible. It's just so much that I could not fit everything into this episode. So after tonight's show, the entirety of the interview will be posted to the audio version of Spread Hope Like Fire's podcast, which you can get on Apple iTunes, Google Play Store, Spotify, and all your other major podcast carriers. And now that we're on the topic of moms, I share a lot of the craziness that I endured with my dad. I don't talk a lot about my mom. My mom was the anchor and the foundation for which I was able to rise so high in life. She believed in me at every twist and turn. No matter what I did, my mom was always there for me. It goes as far as I heard one time, long time ago, that there's only one person in the world that we can put a twinkle in their eye and the smile on their face. Nobody else we can do this with. And that's our mom. David shared his struggles and what he's seen with his mom. The struggles in which I went through with my mom when I grew up and being poor and everything, it taught me, because my mom taught me one thing that I think is very valuable: to not be entitled. My mom was a housekeeper. That is how she made her living. But that did not define who my mom was. Who my mom was a lady that was growing, evolving, and changing. She was changing the cycle that we were in, I was in. She was showing me that no matter what, there's a way to make money and there's a way to survive. And no matter what that is, take pride in it. because someone is paying you for a job to be done, and you want to make sure that you are earning every cent of that dollar. If it wasn't for my mom, I would not be doing what I'm doing in life. We all have a purpose in life. Some find out later in life, some find out early in life. I found out a couple years ago, all the pain and all the stuff that I went through as a child, we all do. But my mom decided at a certain point in life that the cycle ends and we have to go a different way. We have to say that we want better for our life. We want to stop feeling this way. I want to share a crazy story on how far my mom will go to believe in me and support me. Around the mid to late 90s, we had the WWF era, the Attitude Era, wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was the ticket. Like if you did not watch Monday Night Raw, you were out of the loop Tuesday on the playground. So between 6th grade to about 10th grade, I was getting multiple suspensions for telling everybody to suck it. I'm like every other kid that grew up in that generation. That was the number one thing that we got suspended for, was telling someone to suck it. If the teacher told you something that was upsetting or you didn't like, it was always like, well, suck it. It was part of growing up in that era. So come sophomore year, I meet some new friends in high school, and one of them has a wrestling school flyer. A pro wrestling school was opening up in Santa Maria. So I took down all the information like we did in the early 2000s. We didn't have a cell phone to take a picture. We had to get a piece of paper and write down the information. And that later that day, I went home from school and I told my mom, hey, there's a wrestling school that's opening up. And she says, uh-huh. And I said, I got to do this. And at that point, I looked at my mom directly in her eyes. And I don't think she was comprehending that I was wanting to be a professional wrestler. I think that she thought it was a wrestling show I wanted to go to. And she's like, well, when is it? And I said, it starts in a week. And so she's like, where is it? And I told her where. And then, how much? And so I told her how much. And then she goes, oh, okay. And she's like, well, let me see this. And so I showed her the information. Called Billy. And so she goes, so what? I call this person for the tickets? And I said, yeah. So she calls Billy, and he explains to her that it's a wrestling school. And then she hangs up, and then she comes and asks me, what is wrong with me? Do I really think that I'm going to be able to do this? Because I'm going to end up killing myself. But I told her it was my dream. I had to go to the WWF. That was my calling. That was what I was born for. It was in my blood. That's what I told her. It was in my blood. It was in my DNA. I was the next Rock. That's what I told her. I told her. So after about a few hours of debate, she agrees that if I keep my grades up, she will pay and allow me to go to wrestling school. Well, that's how I got into the wrestling business for a little bit. The best experience you'll ever put a 16-year-old in ever. But my mom went to every show because she believed in me. She believed that the crazy crap that was coming out of my mouth, I was going to be the next WWF champion. She believed in me. So if you ask me what the most important thing is that a mother can do, it's what my mom did for me. She believed in me in everything I've done. So this entire episode is dedicated to my mom. Happy Mother's Day. Going down memory lane was really great. It got me thinking about all the old times of wrestling, all the fun I had, all the craziness I experienced. So I started looking at old wrestling footage, old WWF. And as I was formatting the episode and getting everything together, a wrestler by the name of Marc Mero popped up in my head. Now, Marc Mero, if you're not familiar with, was a wrestler in WWF. If you can think that far back, kind of hurts for me, but Marc Mero used to always be accompanied to the ring by Sable. Sable was the hottest woman I've ever seen. I know I'm not the only guy in the late 90s who dreamed about Sable, but that's not why Marc Mero came to mind. Marc Mero began his wrestling career with WCW, World Championship Wrestling, in 1991. Mero would go on to become the World Television Champion in WCW and would hold the title from 1994 to 1996. In 1996, Mero made the jump to World Wrestling Federation, now known as WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. Mero held the Intercontinental Championship belt from 1996 to 1997. In 2000, Marc Mero would return to WCW and then would hop around other wrestling federations until he finally retired in 2005.
Would be at all my sporting events. Let's say I was playing football, okay? My mother would be on the sidelines, and if the play on the field started going one way, my mother would run along like, Mark, get him, get him! I'd be like, oh my gosh. I'd get in the huddle with the other guys. They go, Mark, is that your mother? I go, no, I never saw her before in my life. The greatest gift my mother ever gave me, she believed in me. I have overdosed on drugs on 3 occasions where I should have been dead. But I believe I was kept here for a reason. You show me your friends, I will show you your future. How do I know this? I hung out with losers, and I became the biggest loser of them all because I gave up everything I dreamt about as a little boy because of who I chose to surround myself with. My friends would drive me home at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. We'd be drunk and high, laughing in the car. We'd pull up in front of my house in New York. They go, Mark, the light's on. I go, oh man, my mother's up. See, my mom wouldn't go to bed until she knew her son was still alive. I'd walk in, she'd say, hi, Mark, how was your night? I go, it was good, Mom, I'm just gonna go to bed. She goes, can I talk to you for a minute? I go, Mom, I'm tired, I'm just gonna go to bed. She goes, Mark, I haven't seen you all day and all night. Can I please talk to you? I said, man, just leave me alone. You bug me. I'd slam my bedroom door on the one person who believed in me. I was on a worldwide tour and we were wrestling overseas in Japan. After my wrestling match, I went upstairs in my hotel room and I fell asleep. There was a knock at my door at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got out of bed, I looked through the safety window and I could see it was a Japanese promoter. So I opened the door and he said, Mark, you need to call home. There's been an emergency. I went and got on the hotel room phone. I called back to the United States and said, hey, what's going on? They said, Mark, I don't know how to tell you this. I said, just tell me what happened. I suddenly started crying. They go, Mark, I can't tell you. I said, just say it. They said, Mark, your mother died. I just threw the phone down. I ran out of my hotel room. I took the elevator to the lobby, and when the doors opened up, I just ran out into the street. I mean, there was no cars, there was no people. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. And I walked down the middle of a street in Hiroshima, Japan, and I remember looking up and just saying, Mom, I am so sorry. I flew home for her funeral, and I was so nervous to walk up to her casket, so I just stood way in the back. And I kept looking from a distance. I kept thinking to myself, Mom, please wake up. Please get up. And then I finally got the nerve to walk up to her. And as I got closer, I could see my mom for the first time. I mean, she was so beautiful. She was dressed in white. I mean, she looked like an angel. And I just stood over it. I said, Mom, you are my hero. Everything I am, everything I hope to be was because of you. You loved me so much. You gave me a life. You're the only one that ever believed in me. How did I repay her? By getting drunk, by getting high, by getting stupid, by hanging out with losers? For what? All she ever wanted to do was talk to me. I wish I could talk to you now, Mom. I wish you could see what I'm doing. Why couldn't I have been a better son? We are defined by our choices. But if you surround yourself with people involved in drugs and alcohol and pills, it's a dead end. I'm not here to preach to you. I'm here to tell you I lived that life. It leads to broken hearts, broken relationships, broken dreams, and death. For what? To get high? If you have a mother or a father, when you go home, tell them how much you love them. See, my whole life was about being rich and famous. I had to be a millionaire. I had to win the race. I had to win the race at the expense of my marriage, my family, my friends. For what? To be all alone in the world? I learned what is truly important, and that is how precious this gift of life is, and our families, and how quickly it can be taken away. See, I no longer live in time. I live in moments. See, it's not what's in your pocket that matters. It's what's in your heart that truly matters. Love. Love is just a word until somebody comes along and gives it meaning. You're the meaning.
As to like how you've made it this far in life, being this successful without ending up a statistic. Because you and I should have been totally on drugs. We should have had like a shitload of kids. We should, yeah. Should have been in, no, yeah. See, you should have that, and see, so like that right there, what you just showed me, that connects to so many other listeners.
I never this is one thing that a lot of people I think get confused. I've never been in a gang, man. I got a lot of how do I say this? I grew up in a very gang-ridden neighborhood.
Well, what the fuck was this,
dude? Things the three dots signify like you're gonna die, you're gonna end up in jail, or you're gonna end up it's dead, life in jail, and that's your options, so that's kind of where I thought my life was gonna go. So that's kind of where that tattoo comes from, that's I kind of tied on what you were saying, that where we thought we were gonna end up, and based on those early oh no, I was sign language into you because you didn't hear me.
What made you get that?
I guess at the time I got it, it was I had gone through a lot that growing up. Part of growing up was my dad was in jail. My dad was in prison. When he went when I was a year and a half, and he got a dime for attempted murder. or attempted homicide, you could say. And so growing up, where I grew up is kind of where I got my style. I sound gang members, dude. I'm Chicano, bro. Like that's all it is, and but it was perpetuated by all the people that were around me. Like I grew up on the north side of our town, so when I grew up there, it was, it was bad. Everybody was impoverished. Like people ask for it from each other, to kind of survive there, dude. Like that's just how the projects here were,
Yeah.
But very gang ridden and dangerous, like my mom raised me by herself, and she was always working, so I was always at the babysitters down the street, but so I got to that point, dude, where I was just a teenager, kind of being destructive and seeing myself with kind of being like the Lone Ranger at the end, dude. Like a lot of my friends that I grew up with were already in jail, they're already, some of them died, like from gang stuff, and so that's where I was, I was just like looking at my cycle that I had, with my dad. And then I was just like, that's where it's going to go. That's where it's going to end up, so I kind of latched onto that, whole Chicano culture, of it's gang related almost, like that's very strong, in it. But that was just kind of like what I knew, like that's all there was. There's a lot of people that just kind of connected with each other there, and and it was like, what else do you know, except for the things you learn from the people around you, like I mean, that place, dude, was like, if you couldn't get it, take it, and people were doing that to each other left and right in front of people in daylight, me and my mom, for instance, got home one time and our next door neighbors were getting robbed. Like we lived in a quadruplex or whatever you call them, like four little apartments that were latched to each other. Each corner had a door, but so we walk up to ours and there was one dude just standing in front, and watching out supposedly, while everybody else was yanking out everything, dude. They were stripping the place. And so we were like my mom seen, and she was like, oh, grabs me by the hand, and just kind of nudges me to let's keep going, And so they knew who we were. We knew who they were. Everybody knew each other, there. So they pretty much just said like, oh man, like look what these guys are doing. Like they try to play it off, like whatever.
Yeah.
But it was the gang fear there, that everybody had, that kind of pushed us just to go home. We went inside the house, and my mom said, just don't say nothing. Don't open the door. Don't look outside. Just stay quiet, And I'm like, okay, like whatever. It's kind of like the norm of that neighborhood, And so the neighbor actually came home, and she comes and knocks on the door. Hey, I just, like humble, dude, like just broken, because I mean, how else are you gonna feel when your place gets, ransacked? And she comes and she's like, hey, she was asking my mom. She's like, hey, senora, hey, lady, or the translation is like, hey, ma'am, but hey, senora, by any chance, do you know anything that happened next door? And my mom like just looked at her, with that look that was like, what happened, and like we can't say nothing, it's like she wanted to, like my mom was crying, because of what happened and they're broken down, but she was like in fear. It's like, no, just if we do say something, we might be next. And then in such a closed neighborhood, like such a tight neighborhood like that, it was like, oh dude, you didn't want to be iced out, you didn't want to be that house that, just people attacked, like, and because we saw that happen in the neighborhood. You knew who wasn't liked, whether it be like the ladies talking to each other and telling, each other, or you just see the house just get, ransacked, or, with broken windows, you name it. It was early 90s, that didn't play out. So yeah, man, it was a pretty crazy time, So I had all that environment, and then in the household, it was like my mom was, I guess by the time she worked all the time until it was like about 11, and then she ended up getting an injury, so she went on disability. So she was at home then, but like I said, the whole beginning of it was she was dropping off at the babysitters, having to provide like that. But like I said, like in that neighborhood, everybody was poor. Everybody was barely making it. If they were making it, they might be behind on rent, not have light. I've gone without, any light, any phone. Cable, man. That cable was a luxury that
I know, right?
oh man. When people talked about Saturday morning cartoons, it was what came out on Channel 12 on Saturday. Because that was the only antenna that we had, wire hanger hanging off the top.
Seriously.
Dude. But yeah, man. I would get dropped off at the babysitters, and it was like I was supposed to be safe there, And that babysitter, she was, bless her heart, man. She was awesome. She was, everything that you could ask for, like as a mom substitute, But they had problems in their house too, man. I mean, they were poor and trying to make money from babysitting me. Yeah. Are you gonna get it? And it was just like, okay, I saw that there, and then I would go home and then see my mom whenever at night, because she worked 2 jobs when she was working. Then, kind of have that hour or whatnot. Maybe sometimes she'd wake me up, to see her. She'd carry me, over to the house when I was little. But once I had to walk, I'd carry my blanket down the street.
All tired.
yeah, man. So she'd take me home, and at home, there's a whole different story over here for me. Mom was barely trying to survive, because I'm not an only child, dude. Like, I have 1 brother and 3 sisters with my mom. With my dad, I got a lot more, but with my mom, she had 4 kids that were in Mexico. She's got a crazy story too, man. She came over about, I think, 7 or 8 times, and you name it, bro. She crossed the mountains, crossed the river. She came in compartments. She did everything she could to be able to go see her kids when she could, and still have a life here, making money to be able to provide for them there, and as you can imagine, that takes whatever income she had here and cuts it, and so they had something which I'm glad my mom could provide, but we were all on like even keel, we were all poor, they were poor over there because they barely had any cent over there, and we were poor here because everything, was like, we got two different families to provide in 2 different countries,
Yeah.
So I saw everything at home, it was like, dude, I always tell the story with my nephews and my kids, like I try to, when we talk about food, I'm like, man, you guys don't even know. I would have beans in a pot, right? Like on Sunday.
Yeah.
And Monday, mom would have some more, or in the morning or something. Sometimes it would be like 1 pot of beans would go days, where it was like Monday was or Sunday was pot of beans, Monday was fried beans, Tuesday was fried beans inside a taco, and then it'd be so on and so on. You'd have them for breakfast with eggs, and it would just be like just trying to fill up as many meals, dude, because it was we were poor, man. We had what we had. Grocery outlet was like the place to go.
Seriously.
Had that. Yeah, man. We were always there. That was our grocery store. We Lucky's was down the street, or not Lucky's, Williams Brothers.
Dang, you're taking it back, Williams Brothers.
Man. But we hardly ever went there, dude. Like, because we had to hit the grocery outlet, man. It was that kind of stuff. I would go a lot in that neighborhood, they had a little market, little Mexican market. I don't know if we still have it
Right,
around.
right next door, right?
Fruteria Marlene back then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. So my mom was really good friends with that lady and Chela and Don Juan. Rest in peace, Don Juan passed away, about 2 years ago. But dude, they helped that neighborhood more than you could believe, dude. Like they would keep tabs, like so I could go over there and my mom would be like, hey, go get some eggs, milk, go get tortillas, go get beans, and then tell Chela, to put it on my tab. And so we'd go over there and, hey Chela, like, can I get some food? And she's like, yeah, go ahead. And you grab the stuff, dude, and she'd write it all down in her notebook. She's like, all right, go ahead. And so that dude, like a lot of families and households in that neighborhood had tabs, where that lady was just holding out, like she knew the situation and she was like, yeah, we got you, like whenever you guys can pay. Because she never was even like that type of lady where she was like, hey, I ain't gonna give you nothing until you pay me, It was like, she was cool, man. Yeah. But yeah, man, I went through that and that's kind of like, I got out of that neighborhood because they did a sweep. So they basically sweep that neighborhood and said, if you have any gang ties or any problems, ever had any reports in this place, they kicked you out of the program. We were on a housing program there, and they kicked everybody out, dude. So I saw like families just disappear. They literally gave them like a deadline, and they were gone. By then they were gone. So there was a few families that were left, and I mean, like I said, man, I'd never been into gangs. I had a lot of friends, but I stayed out of trouble. My mom was like, you need to watch what you're doing around here. You know where your dad is. You know what he did. Like that never was like something she hid from me. Since I could remember, I knew your dad is not here, and your dad is not here because of what he did, and which was, like I said, he had an attempt at homicide over a money dispute. And my dad used to work driving tractors in the fields, man, and so he lent money to his boss, and in that dispute of trying to get the money back and the guy not wanting to pay him or not being able to pay him, and then getting kind of annoyed that my dad was like, I'm having a kid. I just had a kid and I need all the cash I can get, man. And I lent you money, in good faith, and you're not paying me back. Right. And so that went on, I guess, for a while. And then the guy ended up telling my dad that there was no work right now. Right. Because that was kind of seasonal work. And he was like, there's no work now. So I'll call you. And he's like, well, dude, and I've heard this story from my mom and my father, same story. But
yeah,
they were like, so he said, okay, call me whenever there's work, And so like I've kind of thought about the situation, with him feeling the way he might have felt, like I'm out of work right now and I have a kid coming. I've been there. But so he ended up going around and trying to find work in all the different, field contractors around here, all the vegetable growers. And he kept getting a no, kept getting doors shut. And he had experience and he was a tractor driver. So it was like sought out, position, but it was door closed, door closed. Finally, one guy who he was pretty close to, he told him, he's like, you know what? You're not going to get hired. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, the guy, he called a lot of the owners around and he said not to hire you. And so that's why the doors are closing on you, man. And so my dad, already being an alcoholic at that point, just my mom says got into it bad, got into it. He would beat her, get into, straight just alcoholic nothingness, man, numbness, And he ended up going hunting. So then he borrowed a rifle from one of my cousins, and he was like, I got to return it to you. Like, yeah, man, I'm out. And he was working out in the fields too. And he was like, yeah, bring it, bring it by and drop it off. So he went and he dropped it off, and the guy showed up, and the boss, and they just started going at it, just bickering with each other. And my dad ended up warning him to just drop it and get away from him. But what happened. He ended up going to jail for years, man. And that was when I was a year and a half. So like I said, since I can remember my mom telling me, so I don't remember how old I was, but I know that it was young. And she was always like, you need to stay out of trouble. We went to go see my dad, and that was a normal thing for me, dude. Like, I thought that was how you saw your dad in the beginning. I would go and see my mom get frisked, walk through the metal detectors, get wanded and frisked, and then check all her bags, and then we'd go and they pull me aside, and usually the COs would kind of watch you and talk to you, and then you get the go ahead, and then you wait for your dad to come out.
Yeah,
that was kind of the norm, dude. I saw my dad in the family yards that they have. I seen him behind glass, just talk to him like you'd see, over the phone and over the
on
mic.
the telephones.
Yeah, dude. And I grew up like that, like until basically my mom couldn't afford it. She was taking all these burdens on herself, like my dad in jail, more kids or youngsters coming over, having to put them through American school, no English. And it's like, I mean, working all the time, getting me babysat, that was my household, and then, like I said, my environment was just as crazy, so back to the, my crazy life stuff, man. That's kind of where I saw my life, like it was just like, I've gotten to a point where I'm about like 14, 15, and I'm like, where else am I going to go, dude? Like that is where my dad went, and
yeah,
I could do it, like that was the mentality, like if he could do it, I could do it, it was almost in my neighborhood too. That was, dude, it's crazy. Being around that kind of culture, that is like praised, if somebody knew that like my dad had done that or knew who my dad was, they were like, oh dude, like it was almost like a props, It was like, it was weird to get that, but it was like, yeah, my dad's in so-and-so prison, my dad's here in this prison. And I was like, because other people had the same situation, so it was like, yeah, my cousin's over there and whatever it was, dude. And it was like thinking back, it's crazy to have that mentality, and growing up like that.
Seriously, it is.
Yeah, man. I got to about, I'm going to say about 15 years old, 15 and a half, almost 16. My brother really pulled me, dude. He got really into going to church. Basically like isolated the whole family because we came from Catholic beginnings, and he became a Christian. So he like drew a line and was like, I'm a Christian now, like who's coming with me, And so he pulled me, like I was looking for a father figure, I was looking for that that person who was going to teach me something, because I mean, growing up, dude, like I was looking, like I was in that fight or flight mode, like they say, the whole time growing up, that, and it's by myself, my mom, like I said, was not really around. She was trying to provide for me. So when she could be around, it was tough because she had that mentality once I was older, that you don't have a dad here. So somebody's got to be the strong hand, somebody's got to put it down here. And I got to teach you how to be a man, And her ways, dude, like, their generation's old, let's say. And so she had that very hard hand and, in her upbringing. So on that cycle, she very much kind of did the same thing, It was like, I have to be tough because I don't have a man in the house. And then when talking to us, it was like, I have to be tough because I'm not gonna let people walk over me. I'm by myself, and you guys need to freaking learn. You know, need to learn to be straight and not mess up. And her way was that was her parenting. You know, I mean, you could say I was her first child she raised because of how she raised her other kids. You know, having to do it from a distance, and then putting all that, you know, parenting where she didn't have the knowledge, you know, to parent. But the one-on-ones, dude, they're still hard. And it's basically because I'm the one that out of my, you know, siblings that grew up with her, I had to go through it with her. And being, you know, a young man growing up, and seeing your mother do that, you know, just being your only refuge, and then just being very hard, you know, very heavy-handed, you know. So
Yeah.
15 years old, I started going to church with my brother, you know, and I started kind of looking forward, you know, like rather than kind of in my own present situation. Then, you know, I was like, dude, I got to start looking with this stuff behind me, you know, like leaving that. So when, like I said, they did that sweep in the projects, man. My mom ended up getting Section 8. And so for those who don't know what Section 8 is, man, it's basically you're on rental assistance, but you get to live in houses that are for rent who accept that program. And they have to meet requirements, you know, and stuff. But like my mom, based on her income, would have to pay a certain amount, you know. So if the rent was like $1,000, she might only have to pay like $300, you know, if she wasn't working and, you know, had like no income whatsoever. You know, they would kind of say like, okay, whatever welfare assistance you're getting is going to be enough to kind of pay for rent and for your food, you know. So we'll only charge you this much rent so you can afford food, you know. And it's like, so we ended up finding a house, you know. Unfortunately, those houses, man, for the most part, aren't in great neighborhoods. You know, so my mom moved me from that neighborhood to another bad neighborhood. At this point, I was already a teenager, you know, and I was bringing with me all that baggage from that neighborhood, you know. And so getting to know people around this new neighborhood was a little tough. You know, I battled with the social aspect of it, you know, so because of that, and then brought it home and was having those same problems with my mom at home, you know. And it was like, dude, the world's caving in everywhere, you know, like it's the only refuge I have is to stick myself in church, you know. And so I did, dude. I did for, I'd say like another year and a half, you know. And you know, at that point, I think I was just kind of coming of age, you know, and I started wanting to be a teenager, you know. I felt like I was grown then, you know, like every teenager feels around like 17, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, all right, cool, you know. I think I can do this. My school was all right, you know. So at that point, I had been picked up on a bottom of the barrel program, you know. Back then they called it Avid. I found out now because my kid is in it that they don't choose kids like they used to. Because when I got put in, man, they straight out told us. So we had success with our first year, and you guys are second year. And we basically thought if we can do it with these great students, we might be able to do it with the bottom of the barrels. So we scraped it, and guess what? If you guys answered yes to, do you think you could make it in college? You know, you're in. So I was like, wow, yes, what? I can go to college, Mom. I swear they told us that.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, man, you know, maybe I can, you know. Like my teacher was like, hey, at the very least, you'll know whether or not you could have made it in. You don't have to go, like, but try and let's see what happens. So I stuck with it, man, and by the time I did graduate, you know, I did have a full ride to UC Sacramento. But I mean, life and my own cycles, you know, kind of stopped me from that. You know, I ended up trying to take a year off, you know, like from schooling, you know. The mistake that now I where I work, man, I see students 24/7. So it's like the thing I always tell them, like, no breaks, just hit it. Like I took a break. And life happened.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's say 17 to 18, enter Target.
Oh.
I'm, here comes Tony. I think when did you start working there, Tony? I think you started somewhere in
03.
2003. Yeah.
03.
Okay, so you might have been there with my little second stint that I had there. I worked like about a year and then took a break because I was gonna, take another path in life that didn't pan out. I was gonna join the Marines, but it didn't end up working out. So
That's okay.
Ended up going back to Target.
They told me no.
Yeah, well,
a flat foot, I guess, or something.
I tried, man. I tried. So not taking the road to school kind of left me little lost. I saw my friends jamming. I saw a girl I was into then jamming. So I was just like, what do I do, man? Like, I'm taking my break and I don't know what to do. And so during that break, I worked a little at Target and then decided, maybe I'll join the military. They say it's got opportunities. So, hey, what I got to lose, and I was big guy. I was about 240 pounds then, almost 240 pounds. And a senior, I was like I said, 240. And I was like, whoa, man, like, and I got to go to the Marines. And they were like, well, get in shape.
And I got to go to the Marines, eh?
Like, get in shape and we'll get you in shape. And then whenever you drop weight, you're in, we'll send you. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll make the change, And so, dude, on top of working at Target, I was on probation. So I ended up taking a job at the cemetery, and I would do the weed eater around the.
No. Yeah, so I was there your first time that you were there. You left. I remember that's where you left, and I kept walking around. Do you remember this? I kept following you around it like the Undertaker, or not the Undertaker, Paul Bearer, and I go, David, you're gonna be leaving. Do you remember this?
No, I don't, man.
Yeah, because you're also what? A cemetery? What do you think you're, Paul Bear? And you're all no, it pays better. I'm all, oh, it pays better, huh? And that's where it started. Yeah, but man, that annoyed you. You're like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, man. So I did a little stint there, man, doing the gardening, you could say. I was cutting the grass and believe it or not, man, I got to do it disinterment. So I was digging up dead folks. Some people, man, pay for moving their family members. So let's just say the order came in and some people had to dig, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a crazy job, man. So I didn't last there long.
Oh, wow.
That was a crazy job. But yeah, man, I did that. And while I was doing Target and working there, my free time was I'd go do those, and at 6 o'clock I would run over to the enlistment, place that was over by the coachman. So I would go there, and the guy there, the recruiter, would be like, all right, ready? Yeah. He's like, go run. And I'd run around, Minami Park, that whole block to JCPenney, boom, boom, just be running. And he's like, don't stop till you can't run no more, man. And so I'd get there dead tired, like, oh man. He's like, all right, you done running? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, push-ups, man, push-ups. And so I push up. And so he, after that, he throw me on the pull-up bar, and it was like, one, like,
yeah.
I dude, to this day I have very little upper body strength, man. Like, at least in the army, I'm trying to pull myself up.
That was the best of us.
Yeah. So that is what kept me out, man. I ended up losing weight. I got down from 240 to 176 in about a little over a month, about a month and a half. I lost a lot of weight. I was just working so much and running and doing all that stuff, like, drastically changed me, So coming from a guy that like basically all he did was work at Target, dude, and try to party. You know? that was
good
it.
times
You know?
there.
Yeah, it was, man. I got to do a lot of growing there.
So as you say, you were growing up in this environment, and so for those that are listening at home, the way the projects were, it's this very okay. So for the listeners out there, the projects were a small piece of land that was incorporated within our town. It's hard to describe, but it was made up of these larger homes. It would be like a larger home, but legitimately it had a wall splitting down the middle, and then down the width part of it, down that middle, and it would make 4 units, which were like apartments kind of, right?
Yeah.
And so you'd have families that lived there, and if you walk through there, you knew, if you didn't live there, you knew you weren't kind of welcome, and that there were people watching you, because I had friends that lived there, and I would always walk. I wouldn't feel comfortable walking there. I'm not your typical like Mexican. I'm more really whitewashed, so it was that type of community.
Yep.
And that's got to be a struggle right there as to what choices to make. What is right? What is wrong? The lines are blurred. And then you have to, on top of that, take that into the home. You have no one to talk to about it. You don't have a father figure to actually like tell you what is right, what is wrong. When do you stand up and fight?
When I was older, it, you know, a lot of it, like I said, I carried throughout the whole thing. Where I grew up, and you could say that mentality that, you know, if you need to get it, you need to get it. You know, it was, you know, when I met my wife, you know, then my girl, of course, she got pregnant, you know, so you could say that that cycle came about where I was like faced with, who did you have and what do you want to be, you know, like with my father, you know. And it was like, I had struggled so much in my life just to stay out of jail, you know, regardless of, I mean, I thought I was doing a good job getting away with stuff, you know. That was my mentality that I brought from there. Doing whatever, you know, I was trying to do, bringing you could say the vices and the things that were confused in my head that were okay. Drugs was one of them, you know. Seeing both sides of it, the use and the, you know, it was a thing that kind of put it in front of me when I had my kid, that said, if you continue down this path, you will be your father. You know, there's no end to what you're doing, and staying there is only going to cause pain that, you know. So you have to try something different. You know, that literally hit me like a freight train, dude. This is as soon as my wife told me, you know, hey, we're pregnant, dude. You know, like. And I was just like, okay, you know, and literally these thoughts just, you know, flooded me, you know, like I said, I knew what I would do immediately, you know, but I did go through that thought process immediately too. You know, it was just like, who are you going to be? You know, you end up in jail, you know what's going to happen to your kid, how your kid's going to feel throughout his whole life. You know exactly what he's going to feel. He's going to miss out on everything, you know. Nobody's going to teach him or her how to fight, how, like you said, you know, how to be a man or know what a good man is. You know, there's just none of that's going to be there. You know what you've missed. It was just me in my head talking to myself, man. I kept telling myself, like, think about it. Every instance where I needed him hit me, You know, it was like, what about now? What about for this? Simple things like second grade Father's Day, third grade Father's Day, you know, where those we made like little ashtrays, you know, in a kiln, you know, and took them home, or wrote a letter or wrote a card or something. You know, you always do something for those days, you know, at school. I don't know if actually they do them now because of like a lot of people not having their parents around, but
No, seriously, but ashtrays.
yeah,
Like seriously, we used to make ashtrays.
yeah. So I sat there, dude. I made my ashtray for my dad, you know, knowing that my mom didn't smoke and there's no dad at home, you know. So it was me just kind of making it to kind of look around and be like everybody else, you know, like I'm not going to show that I don't have my dad here, you know, at school in front of everybody, you know. And so I go home and take my ashtray and, hey, mom, look, you know, I made this at school, you know. Oh, cool, you know, and like she give me the props for it, and they kind of sit on the shelf, and, you know, forgotten, you know, whatever. But those are the things, you know, that I was kept thinking to myself, okay, you need to rearrange your life, you know, to where those things that you thought were okay to do, you know, because you were getting away with them, could risk you not being there for your kid and being that person who you've needed and you've come to be very angry at, you know, for not being there. And so I you know, took on my responsibility, you know. My mom always taught me that too, though. She was like, you ever do that and get a girl pregnant, you better not ever run out. That is your responsibility, your child. You take responsibility for that person because you did what you did, and there's nothing that that person deserves, you know, that you need to be doing to them other than taking care of them. And I'm like, all right, you know, like I had that mentality, but I was like, you know, I had the mirror image of myself, you know, kind of looking at me saying, hey, these are the bad things that you went through. Do you want that to continue, you know? And so I stopped, man. I stopped. I really pushed myself to try to be that example to my kid, you know. I finally had her, you know, and it was like, yeah, this is what I want, you know. I had a girl, and I feel like that was even, like you say, like I could almost, you know, before kind of was trying to foreshadow that I was gonna have a boy, you know, like every other guy, and was like, so I thought there's a little David that's coming, you know. You don't want another little David to suffer like this David, you know. So then I had a girl, and so it was like, wow, check it out, dude. Now it's okay that you don't know what to do with the boy because you never had your dad, you know. So you don't know how to parent a boy. You have a wife that can help you parent a daughter. And I was like, okay, I can do this, you know. Like I just got to be there, and I got to be a better person than what I was, because that person is not the person I want my daughter to be. So, I mean, she changed me, dude. She's amazing. She's my princess, man. She's already 16 years old, you know, just about a few months short, you know, but she's amazing, dude. And she's changed my life. I took all that, man. I'd say within the first week of her being born, I had a flood of like emotion, dude, just pour out of me, you know. Of course, I had it for my daughter, but I'm talking more like with my dad, on that cycle, you know, where I was. And I was like, I had to put it somewhere, because of my wife. Then I was already working, you know, so we didn't see each other very much. And I would write to her, you know, and I, you know, like I'd get home and there was a spiral notebook right there, and I would write, you know, paragraph, hey, babe, you know, how you doing? Hope everything's going well today for you, you know, like, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I love you, you know, just little notes, man. Like I'd make little paragraph, you know, and then she would write back, you know, so I'd get home and I'd read the paragraph and like how she was doing, you know. And so when I had my daughter and I went through about a week of it, you know, of waking up, you know, changing that diaper, dude, and taking care of my kid, and just from that moment that I first held her and saw her, dude, like I became mush, you know. But I was going through all that, and I had this flood of emotions for my father, man. And I was just like, and it was both like like holding grudge, you know, and wanting just to put it out and tell him. So I started writing a letter to him. And dude, I wrote like 3 pages out, you know, and put down everything. Like, look, I went through this, I went through that, I went through this, you know, I needed you here. I'm having a kid now. I don't know what to do. And it's because of you. You didn't parent me. You didn't teach me what a father should be like. So what do I do? This is your fault. You know, like, I'm trying to be better than you. I'm not trying to be like you. And I don't know what to do it the right way, you know? And so I let it out, man. And I told him, and I think that helped me line up all those thoughts, man. And you know, really reassure myself and say, you know, this is where I want to be. This is the life I want. This is the person who I want to be. I want to be a father. Good one, not a bad one. I want to be a great father, you know, like, and dude, I've that's been my goal, you know, like when you talk about like being successful, you know, and coming from where I came from, you know, and I'm successful in the way that I have gained a family, man. Like, that family that I lacked, I got it. I got 2 beautiful kids. I got a beautiful wife, you know, a girl and a boy, dude. I ended up, after learning how to become a father with my daughter, having a son. And bro, it's no longer how I can do things to fix my childhood. It's how can I be there for them, you know? I don't want to repair stuff through my kids. I want to give them great parenting so that they can just thrive. They don't need to feel what I felt. They don't need to experience my pain through how I'm going to teach them, you know, like, I don't want to bring that into them. I don't want, I of course they know where their father came from, you know, and where their family comes from. I always tell my daughter, like, you know, to try to thrive, because she's only the 3rd generation here, you know. I'm the 1st generation in my whole family, the 1st person in my family to be an American citizen. So I tell her, you know, look at what your grandma did. Look at what I went through. That's us. We did that so that you have this stepping stone from here. You don't carry that baggage. That's not your baggage. We're behind you, just letting you flourish. You don't have to carry all those things, you know. You don't live in poverty like we did, you know, and so this stepping stone where you're at, you know, it's I had to look back on it myself, you know, and say, this is, even though it was bad cycle, it got us in stepping stones, you know, at some point. And I got here, and instead of, you know, kind of taking the step toward that bad path, I took it and said, you know, we're going this way. I'm changing the parenting that my mom gave me. I'm changing the parenting that my dad gave me. And we're going to go this way, you know. I took my in-laws, you know, and I took them, I grasped them, man. And I said, this is who I am. I come from this. I don't know how to parent, but I want to learn. I want to learn how you keep your household, how to keep mine, you know. And so, dude, they were a blessing, you know. They've been a blessing. And so through that, man, I've taken those things that I've learned from my patriarchs, man, which I call, you know, even my father, the things that he didn't do for me. My grandfather, who, you know, rest in peace, you know, I lost about 1.5 years ago, at the, you know, age of 101, almost 102. He was, I didn't talk about him much, but he was my telephone dad, man. My mom called him a lot. He always lived in San Diego or TJ. Mm-hmm. And so it was always the, you know, I don't know if you experienced this, but in Mexican families, man, if your grandparents are on the phone, it's here you go, talk to your grandparents, you know, and you don't know what to say, dude, but you're like, hey, grandpa, how you doing?
Yeah.
So I got to talk to my grandpa a lot like that, man. And I'll say that he was that voice always that said, and it was like, one saying that he always said, and it resonated through my whole life, that he said, the most important thing in life is family. Even to his 101, man, he told me the same verse, the same line. The most important thing in life is family. He's like, I have grandkids, great grandkids, kids, and I have love from all of them. They love me and I love them, down to the ones I don't know yet. But because that's what's important. You have to love, and you have to love family. And, this is my grandfather telling me from afar, but I held that, man. And he passed, so I told my wife, I go, man, if I learned anything from him, if I held on to anything from that patriarch, it was that I love my family. I love my kids, my wife. I want to do the best for them, dude. I took a job, dude, doing what nobody likes to do, They say cleaning toilets. I've been a janitor for, going on 16 years. I don't mind the job because it's not who I am. It's what I do. I work every day and do what I have to do to teach my kids that when it comes to family, you do what you need to do. You earn what you need to earn, because family is important, and we need to set the next stepping stone for our family. We need to help get those cycles, like, you've talked about, and keep them behind us, so that the families for the future, the rest of the Velascos that are coming, they don't carry that, all that pain that it took to get us here. We need them to be better, So I put that in my kids, man. I tell them that I try to not, make it sound like they don't have any problems, because they're gonna go through life and have their own battles, but try to show them that, those things from the past are not theirs. They don't need to hold them, So, that's kind of where I am, man. Been trying to push, man. Been trying to push and work and, get myself out, dude. Get myself out. This generational cycle, man, is about 100 years old in my family. And believe it or not, I learned that I broke my cycle, man. I think, if I'm not mistaken, my great grandfather, same thing. So you say there was 3 generations of gun violence and death that led to a life that I had that would have ended up the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked at myself, man, with all that baggage, by the time I hit, 20, that's when I had my kid. And I said, dude, it's all got to stop. That's all got to stop. I can't, and I've hustled, man. I've tried working at Chevron. I tried, like I said, man, Target. I was custodian. I worked at Big Five. Doing what I need to do, because I had to provide, and that's one thing, dude, I did learn. I won't say that none of that taught me anything, because I always say you're only poor one time. You can't be poor more than one time. Nobody's poor more than one time. And the reason I say that is because when you're poor, you learn, or you try to learn, how to not to be poor. And so once you figure that one out, like my mom would say, dude, we're down to $10 for the rest of the month. I paid my bills, but I don't know about food. I got $10. And she said, you know what? Let's go to Chelas, the little market. And she would buy a box of sandwich bags. And she would buy pork rinds, the ones you fried, like the ones they sell now that they sell in the bag with chicken.
Yeah.
So before that even ever was a thing, man, she would go buy those with $10, dude. We would buy $10. She'd spend, I was telling the story earlier today, my mother-in-law, she'd spend $2 on the box of sandwich bags. She'd spend the rest of the $8 on the chicharrones, and then grab the tapatio off the table and grab some lemons, from the house. and I'd go knocking door to door. Hey, you want to buy chicharrones? You know, of course, my mom's like, go ahead, mijo, go knock on the door. My mom, you know, like, hey, and she's like, dude, we'd go do that all evening. You know, this is me after school, you know, from little kid, whenever we needed it. We'd go and dude, by the time we were done, say like 8, 9 o'clock at night, you know, from walking around until we sold out, my mom would have a good $60 in her pocket, man. And so that's why I say that, you know, you only pour one time, because once I learned, like my mom taught me, hey, you can get yourself out. If you need to, you can. Look at, and even that like little thing that, you know, we were so poor that, but she taught me that no matter what, I'll never be poor again, because even if I lost my job today, dude, I'm not scared to humble myself and go make some chicharrones, you know, and go provide, dude, you know, and at least for me, you know, I apply that like that, you know, and I say, hey, you know, you were only poor that one time. You know how to make money. You know how to make something from nothing if you needed to. So, you know, get it, you know, like don't let it stop. That goes, I think, for anybody, you know, like don't let anything stop you. There's always a way to do something, you know. We look out sometimes and we drive around and we try to ignore people who are struggling, you know, on the streets, asking for money and or trying to entertain us for that, you know, quarter or dollar that you want to throw at them, you know. And it's like, it's sad, you know. I try to help out when I can, you know, but I know where they're going through, and I know that at least they're trying, you know, they're trying to pull themselves, they're trying to do something, because they know that we're here and the only way from here is up, you know. Like we even making myself get a meal today is already teaching myself how to get a meal today, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, you got to look up to people like that, not ignore them, you know. They're going through a time in their life that a lot of people may not go through, and yet they're trying to thrive, you know. We try to survive, man, and you just got to push, man. Everybody's got to do it. Everybody has struggles, and so we have to push ourselves, man. I heard a saying the other day, actually on one of the podcasts I listened to, and the guy said, I forget who they were interviewing, but he said, you can do anything, and if you're scared to do anything, do it scared, you know. And I was like wow, you know, like, yeah, that's exactly it. That's, you couldn't have said it any better to me, you know, like just do it, you know, like you gotta push. You gotta push. It's the only way to get yourself out. You gotta break those norms that you think are the norms and say, gotta try something different. Anything, we kind of all know where we end up, I think, by our actions, you know, that we're doing. If we're gonna, you know, get into drugs, if we're gonna be on the street, if we're gonna, you know, do stuff like rob people or you know, I mean, there's a lot of vile things you could do, you know, to try to get by, but you'll know where you end up, you know. But if you push hard, man, like yourself, man, dude, my props to you. I've heard your story, man, and you know, to be there and dude, I mean, can I call you doctor yet, or is that pretty close?
I got what, 2.5 years left, and then I have to do my internship. So like 3.5 years, I'll be a doctor eventually. Dude. It's crazy, huh?
My applause to you, bro.
Thank you.
Hey, man. Dude, I definitely, you know, give my props to you, man, and you got all my respect, man, because, you know, you took it. You said, hey, I got to change stuff, and you got to do it, you know, because there's.
Yeah, it's not easy. No, it's because I want something out of life, and like you said, I say the same thing. I don't ask for things anymore. I take them, and I don't mean forcefully or violently. Yeah, no. What I mean is, I know it's not entitled to me, but I will earn it. And yes. I'm going to give that person or whatever it is that I'm trying to earn, I'm going to give them no other choice but to give what is mine. Give it to me. And a lot of people have been asking too, like, how do I sleep 4 hours a day and like get up, like, because I'm up at like 3:34. I'm doing like all my analysis for the day, because I do a lot of like day trading or swing trading actually. And I have some friends getting me into crypto. I have no idea what I'm doing there. And then I go into practice around 12 and then on. And then after that, I start doing homework. And so like my whole day is pretty much full with, I'm always doing something. And it's good to be where I am as opposed to where I could be, because I could be on the opposite end. And I like how you tied that into as you're only poor once, because I never thought of it that way. There's always some sort of hustle that you can do in order to make ends meet. Seriously. You even touched on, here's one thing that I think is absolutely the most important about cycles and how we approach them. You said that your job is, I'm a janitor. Never undersell what you are in life. My mom was a housekeeper. She did the exact same thing. She took care of, she took other people's trashes out. She picked up after them. She went to work every day proud though, because that in turn, it provided us financial freedom to a degree, as to we're able to not live in a car. We're able to have food on the table. We may not have cable TV or like the most newest video games, or cable, I said cable TV, the luxuries of life, but we made it work. And without my mom, I don't think I would be able to have broken the cycle, which it's, she came from her own cycling and then brought it into our life as her kids. And then, that's why I'm always saying it's the generational cycling that we have to look at in order to change the outcome of the society we live in.
Yeah, they were, it was the Wild West in Mexico, man. So my dad brought that. It's like you said, cycling, man. My dad brought that here and ended up doing it here. From bringing it from his father, and then the lack of parenting came for me, and then my mother, same thing, man. She had to leave her kids over there, so she didn't get to be a parent. And then I came, and then she's got to bring her. She wasn't raised by her mother either, so she's bringing that forward, not knowing how to be a mom, and bringing it to me too. Like it's got to stop, man. We, like you said, we got to look back and say, hey, yeah. I'm getting cramp on my leg. Yeah, you got to bring it back and say, yeah, man, like this has got to stop, dude. We can't bring those things to our kids, and and then expect them to thrive. If we keep putting them in our shoes, then they're only gonna mush forward as far as we did. It's like we got to give them their own sneakers, dude, and take off, man. And let them get ahead.
I'm very excited for this segment. I'm bringing on two friends of mine, two ladies that I feel exemplify what it is to be a mother. My friend Sotera and my friend Angela have set new standards for their children. They have built a foundation for which their children can only thrive and succeed. So I'm bringing them on the show tonight, but here's a little caveat. There's two parts to this segment. They only know there's one. I only told them that they were coming on for one part of the show and that I was going to ask them a set of questions. So, what do you love about being a mom?
Gosh, being a mom has honestly brought so much colorfulness into my world. Like, does that make sense? just like
Mhm.
the best things that I never knew were possible are now achieved because I have kids. Like I get to be a kid all over again, but now I have money to buy the shit that I want to have fun with the kids. Being a mom means to me being completely and totally overwhelmed, but in the best way possible, by love and joy and responsibility and selflessness. It means the long sleepless nights, the big belly laughs. It means snails on the coffee table. It means finger painting on the refrigerator. It means being fearless and being a positive role model and a courageous and continuous cheerleader in every milestone that my kids accomplish. And it's honestly the best achievement I've ever made.
Mom.
Okay, so it's undescribable. Like I cannot describe to you what I love about being a mom. It's just this very genuine, deep care for other beings that I couldn't describe in any other way. It's just like full of peace, but at the same time strength. It's like a big combination of those two, because there is like the motivation of protecting, like mama there energy, but there's also this like sweet part that includes, that's included in the role. Yeah, so it's just a very genuine love that I in that type of relationship, like that you cannot develop in any other relationship. So I think just that feeling is what I love about being a mom. Yeah.
What does being a mom mean to you?
Well, I was a teen mom. I was a mom at 18, so it meant a lot of responsibility that I wasn't prepared, so, to handle. So there was a lot of growth, personal growth involved in just being a mom. So it means a lot of things, but just like taking into consideration like social expectations about being a mom. I'm Mexican, so there's like this selfless part of being a mom, and I try not to conform, but be very, very present for my child, in the expected roles. So it means challenging a lot of limiting beliefs, that we have as a moms, especially in different environments, different cultures. So it has meant a lot of growth, a lot of personal work in order to handle, the responsibility that comes along with being a mother. Yeah.
What do you hope to instill into your children or child?
I think I hope to instill a lot of values, like for him to be protective of himself and to be active, in social causes, to be an open-minded child. I've been like kind of raising a feminist child, he's being resistant at times, but then he comes home and then we talk, and he's like, what, you were right the other day that you were saying this. Like, I finally understand. He's 12 right now. He's gonna turn 13. And before he was like, I don't like this, I don't like feminism and what, and I'm like, okay, calm down. It does not have this negative connotation. So it's been a very nice process to really challenge social beliefs, I think I want him to have this strength to fight against what's not fair, but also feel supported by me and feel that he feels that he can come to me, and we can talk about things and agree to disagree, if it's because what matters the most is our relationship. So I want him to feel secure and supported in this relationship, no matter what our beliefs are. But I do want him to be comfortable out there with all these values. I don't know if that makes sense.
What do you hope to instill into your children?
Probably the 3 R's that my parents instilled in me and more. It was always respect, responsibility, and resilience. My dad was in the Air Force, so he was kind of like a drill sergeant to us in that aspect. But I also want to bring in the value of honesty, lending a helping hand when they see that their friends or someone is in need. The courage to speak up is a big one, because although they're kids, they're often right and we need to listen to them more. How to manage money to resolve disagreements peacefully. We need a lot of that in the world, and just love with all their hearts. I would just say, first and foremost, be kind to yourself. When you are a new mother, you just need to accept all the help that's out there. I think as a mom, you kind of, have this thought in your head that when you're a mom, you shouldn't ask for help or be vulnerable because it's frowned upon as you're a woman. But like, you should know what you're doing right off the bat. But I say the hell with that. Don't lose your sense of humor. Like, still be funny. Shit happens. It's going to happen. We live once. Don't lose who you are. That's very easy to do when you have kids and you're running around and you're being like, a snack bitch, or you're being, a soccer mom or a coach. Like, just find the things that you like to do and continue to do that, whether it may be reading a book or Netflix. And just don't compare your child or your parenting skills with anyone else, because it's not a race or a competitive game. It is what it is.
There is a lot of knowledge. Experience, I could say, more than knowledge. But I think it's just we need to really heal ourselves and nurture ourselves in order to co-regulate our child. I don't like to use those terms, but in order to support our kids, we need to be full humans first, and it's just a lot of personal growth, challenging our beliefs of what we should do, what we must do as a mom, and do what we feel is best for us and for them. Just that. For me as a mom, as a teen mom, it was really difficult. So going to school was a challenge. Like, anything requires a lot of effort. Anything that it's big requires a big effort. Like, it's proportionate to what we want. So believing in ourselves, seeking support, empowering ourselves through building relationships, through seeking support from whatever you can, not giving up. There's always going to be something that we can get. And yeah, I think it was just like the resilience and resistance of keep going in spite of the challenges. And there's always someone that's going to support us, by being a mother, and just trying to look forward in what we want, and we model that behavior to our kids. So whatever we want them to learn, we don't tell them, we model, we model those behaviors.
For Mother's Day, I just Venmo'd you $50.
No.
Yes. That is my way of telling you guys thank you for doing what not many people want to do.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, those are the questions I have for Mother's Day, but I lied to you.
Okay.
I lied to you a little bit. I lied to all three of you guys to get you on here. You were a little different, though. No, in a good way. Mm-hmm. And so, hold on. I made myself a promise when I was younger and doing this stuff that I was going to pay it forward for the next trainee, intern, AMFT, MSW. I don't care. When I am able to do it, I'm going to do it. So from me to you, I just Venmo'd you some money.
Oh, I know. I mean, you lied to me. I expected that.
So we've seen how you've experienced life and the traumas that have come along with the parenting and the cycling. What is it that you would say that you've injected into your kids to break the cycle? What are your new values?
My new values. I think, to have a person there for support, is definitely something I tell my kids, that, because I definitely project for them and say, one day you'll have kids, and I want you to remember that your father was there for you when you needed to speak to him. he was there with the, open ears to listen, and so I try to be around them like that, that support system. That's the thing that it didn't have, So even though it's something that I was lacking, and I'm trying not to be the one to repair it, but just let it kind of have its fruition on its own with my kids, like it's different than what I went through, It's not like I'm doing it because I knew what was lacking. I'm doing it so that they know that's what should be strong in a household, there should be a dual parent, system in the household. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one that is always getting along, but it's got to be one that can coexist, and be able to resolve stuff, together as a family, not just, kind of by ourselves, me and my wife, but kind of include the kids, and say, hey, this is what we're going through as a family. This is our current situation, from what we're going through, never putting it on, the past stuff. So I try to tell them, like, now go forward with knowing that your parents are with you, we will, help you with school, with anything, sports, social life, you name it, those are the things that I definitely try to have new values for, and say, these are the important things in family. And I tell my kids that, constantly. They at least my oldest one right now that can, comprehend stuff. She knows, she's like, okay, she sees herself. I see the fruit of it, where she has a mind where she's very focused on what she wants. She's been great at her education, dude. Like, basically kept straight A's, throughout her whole, educational career. And then when I talk to her about college and stuff, it's not a, can I do it? I guess it's this is what I want. How do I get it? And it's like a different question she's asking herself than I did, like back in those days, where I was like, I don't know, what can I do? Where college, what? Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Dude, one of the biggest things in deciding for going to college for me wasn't a career. It was social life. I was like, where can I go? My friends are going to Northridge, San Diego. They were going to Santa Barbara, Cal Poly. I was like, oh man, I visited the Bay Area. I want to live in the Bay Area because that place is hype, dude. Like, I want to live in the Bay Area. It was more that, and so, I mean, fast forward now, and I have a kid, and my kid's has a mentality that I got to take this college prep class. I got to take this advanced space cast, Dad. I got a test coming up that I need to ace. Because once I finish this class, it's another one done because I want to get into this college because I want to become a veterinarian. How much do they make? And she's asking me these questions, and I'm like, oh, yeah, check it out right here. Let's go online. Let's check it out. And it's like, those are crazy questions to me, and I'm taking that all in and going, yeah, let's whatever we got to do, we're going to do it. That's what I brought forward. That's what I got to give you. Whatever we got to do, we're going to do it, and it's just, dude, it's great to see it, to see her do that and tell me, so a veterinarian makes, 50 grand. Oh man, is there any jobs doing the same thing that make more? Or I'm like, yeah, look, there's a specialist that makes like 70, doing surgeries. Oh, how much longer does that take to do? Oh, like another year? Oh, just a year? Oh, okay, I could do that. And I'm just like, yes, you can, like, or, dude, who did I have to tell me I could? My mom was poor. She was, you're going to go to college. When I told her I got accepted, she was like, dude, you're going to college? And, but doesn't it cost a lot of money? Like, there was no, like, how are we going to pay for it? There was no, don't worry about it. We'll do something. No, it was like, doesn't it cost a lot of money? And I'm like, yeah, but I got a full ride. Like, She's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh, they said they were going to pay for it. You know, like I got part coming from like California and the other part, they said they got it. Like, what? Like, I'm like, yeah. Like, I did pretty good in school. Huh? Like, I didn't completely fail, you know, like, you know, because, and I mean, that's another thing, dude. How is she going to get involved in education and my education if, you know, she didn't speak English, dude, you know? It was like, Senora, your son is getting into trouble, and, you know, well, what is he saying? I'm doing pretty good, Mom. Like, and like start studying in class. It's all good. He says it's okay, you know, like we're doing good. And I just talk a lot. You know, that's why he looks mad, because he says I talk a lot, you know. Because that was like on my report cards from kindergarten to 8th grade, you know, like they all had, David is a good student. He talks excessively during class and disrupts, but he has a lot of potential type stuff, you know. And I was like, every year it said it, dude. Like, he talks a lot. And then I had my sister, my oldest sister, who picked up the language, you know. And then my mom was like going to the meetings when she could, not understanding, and then finally getting back home and going, hey, mija, what does it say right here? And I'm like, oh, dude, deer in the headlights, you know, like, and then she'd read it and say, it says that he talks a lot during class, Mom, you know, like, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not doing bad. Like, no, he's not doing bad, but the teacher did say, well, like, oh, he did tell me that when I was at the meeting type thing, you know. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
But yeah, man, it was, you know, that's the support I had for education, you know. So I do better now, man. I try to give that to my kid and say, hey, I know I didn't make it to college, but at least a lot of it, I tried a little bit, you know, a couple months, and ended up having a kid, you know. So I had to quit that. But I try to tell her, man, you know, the benefits of it. I try to push the educational values now, you know, and say, hey, you want something now? You don't have to struggle like I did. You go to school, you'll be set. I go, you pick something, stay focused. And if while you're in school, you figure out that's not what you wanted to do, you're at least there and you can change what you wanted to do. But by the time you get out, you'll have something to fall back on. You can take a job at, you know, Walmart after if you want. I go, but you'll have that job there, you know, that if you ever want to, you know, exercise the fruits of your labor, you know, you got it there to go, you know, and you can make money off that. I go, it's not no more figuring it out, you know. There's not no more, you know, taking $10 and going to get, you know, $10 of chicharrones. You know, you got education behind you, man. You got education behind you, so go get it, you know.
Before we end the show tonight, I want to make my last announcement. David has inspired me again with his story about how you're only poor once. You can get help when help is needed. That is why I'm restarting the Spread Hope Like Fire Foundation Patreon. If you would join me, head over to patreon.com/Spread Hope Like Fire. I'm going to start this, and the only reason I'm starting this is to help, to be like that store in which David and his mom went when they had no money left to eat, but they were that hope that David and his mom needed. So the Spread Hope Like Foundation through Patreon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find worthy causes for us to continuously spread hope. The first campaign in which this foundation is going to take on through Patreon is I am going to donate the proceeds to David and his family to help them with their financials when their daughter goes to college. She's going to be making milestones, and I think the support in which this community can provide can be life-changing. So I invite and implore everybody, head over to patreon.com/Spread Hope Like Fire. Join at any tier and know that your money is going to a good cause. This is the spark in which ignites the flames of hope Well, that's been our show tonight. I'm happy that you have joined us. I hope to see you next time. I'd like to say thank you to David Velasco, Sotera and Angela for coming on the show. I'd also encourage you to check out Marc Mero on YouTube, also his website. All that will be in the descriptions down below. For Tony the Beat, I'm Tony the Beat, and this has been Spread Hope Like Fire. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.